From Levente Lazak training the actors on a farm in Hungary, to Luke Bryant using anamorphic lenses to maintain continuity. These are the strict rules that the cast of Seven Kings Must Die had to follow on set. Now, Seven Kings Must Die might seem a tad bit confusing, what with its tribal politics and super old-school named characters like Alfweird, Ethelstan, and Aldhelm, but one thing's for sure, the action is nothing short of electrifying. I mean, we're talking about stunt fighters in super close quarters, pretending to slash, stab, and behead their way all the way to Valhalla. And guess what? Every single move and every bit of action was pre-planned by Lisak and his phenomenal team. Remember Underworld? Witcher? That's right. The same Lizak was behind those too. And for the past 8 years, he's been busy recreating the carnage and chaos of ancient warfare for the Last Kingdom saga. Now, where does the magic happen, you ask? Well, Lizak is working right from his farm in Hungary. That's where Seven Kings Must Die was shot. And he's not just winging it, oh no! His inspirations come from everywhere, from Viking reenactor videos to even 15th century textbooks about the science of horsemanship. There's not a stone that he left unturned. Like, that's dedication for you folks. Now, Lizak's got a unique way of crafting these battles. He's got a one-of-a-kind style when it comes to orchestrating these battles. He makes a point to keep at arm's length from other shows, especially the ones that are all the rage. Why? Because he's constantly on the hunt for his own unique method of creating a battle. But sure enough, bits and pieces from his life make their presence known. Take Braveheart, for example. That was a major hit for him as a kid. The sheer scale of the battle, it was absolutely breathtaking. After seeing it, everyone wanted to don a kilt and become a Scotsman, believe it or not. Now here's where things get interesting. If there's anything Lizak's learned from Braveheart, then it was this. One takeaway from Braveheart that Lizak's carried throughout his career? Every action sequence needs to contribute to the story. Pump out action for the sake of action, and it becomes a drag in no time and you've lost your audience. Now I know that's pretty sick, but wait till you hear how he prepared the stuntmen. Well, he ran a full-on boot camp for the stunt team right at his farm. Yep, he trained them, step by step, until they felt like they'd been wielding these weapons for years. In fact, by the end of it all, it felt like the weapons were practically an extension of their bodies. You can spot the difference a mile away between someone just trying to mimic a fighting style and someone who has it ingrained in them. That's exactly why Lizak dove headfirst into a ton of research for the fight choreography, and it's why you get the feeling that these battle sequences are spot on. He aimed to stick to history as closely as he possibly could. Oh, and that's not all for the battlefield and stunt performers. Want to know how many fighters Lizak put out there for the ultimate showdown? He had a staggering 120 stunt performers out there. And that's not all. With the extras thrown into the mix, the tally shot up to a total of 300 for that final battle sequence. Talk about a battlefield spectacle. Also, the boot camp wasn't enough for the authenticity, so he went out of his way and learned all about martial arts. And not just any martial arts. He cracked down on European martial arts. Now, the challenge here was that the show is set in 10th century England. And how do you make these fights feel true to period? Well, here's the kicker. A bunch of research was poured into understanding how the Vikings handled their short swords and shields. You'd be surprised by the number of dedicated reenactors out there, doing a fantastic job of keeping the Viking tradition alive and kicking. They wield these weapons with authenticity, just like the Vikings did centuries ago. So it's safe to say that mimicking the fights was no small feat. While we're on the topic of weapons, let me tell you something. The shields had a big role to play. You know how watching that super disciplined Viking army in action is a sight to behold? It's a gigantic, well-oiled machine. Well, those shields played a huge role in their strategy. Believe it or not, it was the Vikings who first cracked the code on raising their shields in perfect sync, forming an almost impenetrable wall. Quite the game changer, don't you think? They went through a thorough script read-through page by page to nail down the details. Then they utilized pre-visualization techniques to plan exactly how it all should look on screen. And no, that isn't all. The big man went out and used real horses for the scenes. Nope, that isn't CGI at all, you guys. They're the real deal. And well, controlling them was no small feat. In fact, the man behind it all has spilled the beans on this one as well. According to him, horses are creatures of flight. It's absolutely out of the ordinary for them to be involved in a gargantuan battle sequence like this. But there's a twist. With what's called natural horsemanship, you can actually prep them for fight scenes. This method is all about mastering body language and building profound bonds with horses. Once they acknowledge you as a herd member, as the alpha, you can start teaching them tricks. But first, they've got to fully understand and trust you. And he didn't stop there. He hit the books. A lot of books from the Middle Ages, in fact, to try and learn how to work with the horses. Because you see, over in Europe, they've got a rich military tradition that includes expert horse masters from the 15th century, who penned their wisdom about training horses for warfare. And get this, during the entire filming of this show, they didn't have a single injury or accident with horses. I mean, all those books came in handy, I guess. But it wasn't just our stunt director who had a hard time, no. While that's all fine and dandy, the stunt coordinator revealed some more shocking details. I'm talking full body burns. Well, now you know why these actors have strict rules to follow, right? Remember that scene in The Last Kingdom, when Uhtred's father Ragnar emerges from the barn ablaze, taking down a couple of foes? Well, hold on to your hats, because that was all Levente. A full body burn stunt. Talk about hot stuff. So next time you're watching an intense stunt in The Last Kingdom, remember, that just might be our brave director taking one for the team. Even the show's cinematographer Luke Bryant had quite a hard time as well. First things first, he had to transition to an anamorphic shooting style for the film, but still kept using handheld shots to maintain the series' original look. But this approach gave the film a more theatrical feel. According to Bryant, this was the biggest game changer, moving from what they'd been doing in the previous 5 seasons of the show. He said, even if the audience can't pinpoint that the anamorphic lens means a wider aspect ratio, or what the depth of field implications are, they still feel it. According to Bryant, they were aiming to push the boundaries and paint a wider picture, where every single moment feels grander, more epic on your screen. And here's the magic of anamorphic lenses. They squeeze the image onto the sensor, so when something is blurry, you get a beautiful bokeh effect and an exceptional image quality. Now that's some cinematography magic. And no, that's not all. Bryant had a word or two to say about the fans and their appetite for true history. So basically, these fans are a tight-knit group, right? A massive and committed bunch of history lovers. And that's the beauty of it. These folks appreciate the show's genuine commitment to historical accuracy, which means there's zero error for the creators to add in some modern BS. You know, just so they can resonate with today's audience. And oh, did I mention the epic battle? Turns out pulling that off was a battle itself. Bryant didn't hold back when he admitted that filming the final battle scene was undoubtedly the most daunting task he had to take on. Can you believe they shot it over 10 days and even brought in a second unit to help out? Apparently, they were sprinting for cameras while also controlling a drone. Imagine attempting to maintain continuity while filming right in the heart of Hungary in the dead of winter, with temperatures nosediving to a freezing -8 degrees. And if that wasn't enough, Mother Nature decided to put on a show too, with snow, wind, sleet, and rain making a grand entrance. Bryant also recalled that they were wrangling all 4 cameras and then trying to maintain unity with 300 extras on the battlefield. He said it felt like madness, and the challenges kept piling up as they found themselves in quite a remote location. So every time you catch sight of those breathtaking shots with what appears like thousands of men in the background, you should know that they used super long lenses, filling the frame to the brim. And for a twist in the tale, when they chose to use anamorphic lenses for filming, they had to grapple with their enormous size and incredible weight, which was apparently very, very draining. Yikes! So, from Luke Bryant using anamorphic lenses to maintain continuity to Levente Lezak training the actors on a farm in Hungary, these were the strict rules the cast of Seven Kings Must Die had to follow.